There is one sentence that costs you more than any mistake, more than showing up late, more than failing publicly, more than getting it wrong. You say it every single day. At work, in relationships, to people who never asked. Every time you say it, something transfers. Not money, not time, your authority. The worst part? You think it makes you look better. It doesn't. By the end of this video, you will never unsee this. Your mouth is not the problem. Your childhood is. UC researchers studied adult approval-seeking behavior. They found something that changes everything. The need to over-explain is not personality, it is a survival program. Your brain wrote it before you could question it. Here is how it happened. At some point, your decisions were questioned. Not once, repeatedly. Maybe a parent demanded reasons for everything. Maybe a teacher made your judgment feel wrong. Maybe silence after a choice felt dangerous. Maybe unexplained decisions created punishment. Your brain is a survival machine. It built a reflex. Explain first. Justify before they question. Apologize before they react. That reflex worked once, in that environment, with those people, at that age. It genuinely protected you. But the brain never retires a survival program automatically. It keeps running it, in your office, in your relationships, with people who have zero power over you. Your nervous system is still in that childhood room, still talking to that person, still avoiding a conflict that ended decades ago. Every unexplained explanation you give today, is that child still trying to stay safe? The problem is simple. That child's strategy is destroying the adult's authority. Now here is what happens in the brain of the person listening. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Princeton researchers studied social perception and status. They found something that should change how you communicate forever, within 4 seconds of receiving an unsolicited explanation. The human brain recategorizes the speaker, not consciously, not deliberately, automatically. It moves them from one social category to another. From people who own their decisions to people who need permission for their decisions. 4 seconds, before you finish your sentence, before your reason has even landed. The recategorization already happened. And here is what makes this genuinely disturbing. Once that recategorization occurs, it colors everything after it, the rest of your explanation, no matter how logical, no matter how valid, is now being processed through a filter that already decided you are uncertain. You cannot explain your way back from an explanation. The damage happens at the beginning, not the end. There is one sentence structure that costs you everything. It sounds like this. I did this because. The moment because leaves your mouth unprompted. You have opened something. Researchers call it a justification loop. But what you actually opened is a courtroom. In this courtroom, you are the defendant. You are also the prosecutor. You are also the one who called the trial. Nobody else opened this. You walked in voluntarily. You handed them the gavel. Now they are the judge of a decision you already made, of a choice that was already yours. You gave away something you never had to give. Now let's go to the workplace. This is where over-explanation does the most damage. Stanford researchers studied leadership communication and perceived competence. They studied managers rating employees across identical decisions. Same choice, same outcome, different communication style. One group explained their decisions fully, with context, reasoning, alternatives considered. One group stated decisions briefly. Clear direction, minimal justification. The results were not close. Brief communicators were rated as significantly more competent, more leadership ready, more trustworthy, not because their decisions were better. The decisions were identical. It was how they held the decision in communication. Brevity was not read as arrogance, it was read as certainty. And certainty is what people follow, not intelligence, not qualifications, not years of experience. Certainty. Because certainty signals something ancient to the brain. It signals this person assessed the situation, and they are not afraid of what they found. In social hierarchies, going back hundreds of thousands of years, the person who is not afraid leads. Let me show you what this looks like in a real moment. You leave a work event early. Someone asks where you went. Version 1. I had to go. I wasn't feeling well, and I had an early morning, and I wanted rest before the presentation, and I really wanted to stay but. Version 2. I had to leave early. Same fact. Completely different human being. Version 1 is performing. Performing innocence. Performing reasonableness. Performing the hope that they won't judge you. Version 2 is stating. Treating the decision as complete. Already permanent. Already not up for review. Here is the psychological reality of what happens next. When you perform, people probe. It happened. It is real. It does not require external confirmation to remain real. Decision closure is not confidence in the outcome. It is confidence in the right to decide. The second thing is strategic silence. Most people are terrified of silence after a statement. Their nervous system reads it as danger, as disapproval forming, as judgment building. So they fill it with more words, more explanation, more justification. But strategic silence, the deliberate choice to say nothing after a clear statement, is one of the most powerful social signals a human can send. It communicates completeness. It communicates that your statement needed no support, that it stands alone, that you are comfortable in the space after it. The person who sits in silence after a clear decision is experienced by everyone around them as the most certain person in the room, not the loudest, the most certain. The third thing is the most important. It is what the childhood programming stole from you without you noticing. The internal belief that your decisions are yours, not yours pending approval, not yours if nobody objects, yours unconditionally. The over-explainer does not actually believe this. Somewhere underneath the words, they are asking a question. Is it okay that I did this? Do you approve? Am I allowed? Until the answer comes back, yes, there is anxiety running. A background hum of waiting for the verdict. This is what the childhood program did. It taught you that your decisions existed conditionally, valid only when externally confirmed. That program has been running ever since, in every meeting, in every relationship, in every moment you opened your mouth. To justify something, that was already completely yours. Here is what changes when you stop. Not immediately, not perfectly, but over time, the performance signals something is behind the curtain, something worth finding. When you state, people accept. The statement signals the curtain is the wall. There is nothing behind it. The decision simply is. You are not asking them to approve it. You are reporting a fact about reality. The human brain does not interrogate facts. It interrogates arguments. When you explain, you turn your decision into an argument. When you state, you turn it into a fact. This is the entire game. But here is the piece most people miss completely. This is the research I promised you at the beginning. Harvard Business School studied self-justification and decision confidence. The findings reframe everything. Most people believe they explain to feel more secure, to feel more justified, to close the loop on potential judgment. The data shows the opposite. Constructing a justification retroactively for a decision already made introduces measurable doubt into your own confidence. You explain to feel more sure. You end up feeling less sure. Here is the mechanism. When you make a decision, it exists as a completed action. Done. Yours. The moment you build a verbal defense for it, your brain shifts from execution mode to evaluation mode. In evaluation mode, it starts finding things to evaluate. Weaknesses, gaps, alternative choices you didn't make, things that could be questioned. You generated the uncertainty yourself. By trying to eliminate it, you open the courtroom in your own head, while simultaneously opening it in theirs. Both at the same time. You lose externally. You lose internally. The explanation costs you on every front. So what does the person who commands respect actually do? They have three things the over-explainer doesn't. The first is decision closure. The moment they choose something, they treat it as closed. Not perfect, not unquestionable. Closed. The first thing that changes is how others respond. When you stop explaining, people stop questioning, not because they agree more, because the signal changes. There is nothing to question. You are not presenting an argument. You are stating a reality. Reality does not ask for feedback. The second thing that changes is internal. Your relationship with your own decisions shifts. When you stop seeking external confirmation, you start building internal confirmation. The muscle of self-trust begins to rebuild, slowly, but measurably. Your decisions start to feel more stable. Not because they are better decisions, because they are not being dismantled every time you communicate them. They are allowed to exist, as they are, made by you, for your reasons, which are yours alone. Princeton, Stanford, Harvard, UC, all pointing at the same thing from different angles. The person who commands respect in every room is not the most qualified, not the most experienced, not the most intelligent. It is the person whose relationship with their own decisions is so solid. It requires no external support. They decide, they state, they move. And the silence they leave behind them is not emptiness, it is weight, the kind that makes people lean forward. Pay attention. Follow. You were taught to explain yourself by someone who needed you to, by an environment that required it, by a version of the world that no longer exists, but the program is still running. Every day you let it run. You hand people the gavel. In a courtroom, you built yourself. For a trial, nobody called. Today you close the courtroom. You make your decision. You state it once. You let the silence do what it was always designed to do. You move forward, not because you are certain about the outcome, because you are certain about your right to choose it. That certainty is the only thing that has ever commanded real respect. Not the explanation. Never the explanation. The decision itself. Standing alone. Needing nothing. None of this constitutes personal or psychological advice. These are findings from controlled academic research environments. Always consult a qualified professional for guidance specific to your situation. Go into the comments right now. Tell me the last decision you over-explained to someone who never asked. Not to judge yourself. To see the program clearly. You cannot close a courtroom you have not named yet.